So, a very, 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 very warm welcome to everybody to our very first Viva breakthrough session. So this is something that this is one of our pieces of our puzzle model at the Viva event every year in Spain, in Albia. And we had the idea at the beginning of this year that we would love to do an online version of that. And so and I sat together and we were like, well, who would we love to come be our first speakers who have been to Viva before, because that's who we wanted. We were previous Viva speakers. And both Natasha and Dicken were with us in 2019 here in Spain together. And we both had the same idea at the same time. It was like, okay, let's ask them. And as these things work out, it wasn't very long before they both, and actually you were together when we sent the email in Dicken's house, I believe, and we were like, well, just so happens we're together, and yes, we would love to. So that was like, okay, this is us in the flow. Amazing. So we're really, really delighted and very grateful to have you here. We actually were saying as well earlier on, I'm not sure that you need any introduction, because you
skip
are very well known in the Three Principles field, and pretty much everybody's here who are students of the Three Principles. But I just wanted to say, so I'm going to just say something about Natasha. So Natasha has been, I think, since 2012, am I right? The Three Principles, and had opened the Three Principles, or the Institute, the Three Principles Institute, and now has a school too in Denmark. So she's training coaches and practitioners and facilitators. And she is the president. She's the president of the 3PGC now. Check you out, the president of the 3PGC. So she is absolutely dedicated, committed to sharing the principles throughout the globe. And for that, we are all, I'm sure, very, very grateful for her commitment. So thank you, Natasha. Thank you for being here. And want to mention your book, Coming Home, and want to mention the new upcoming book as well. The title of this session is A Life with Ease, A Life of Ease. And I'm sure that you're going to be speaking to that. So yeah, thank you for being here. I'll hand over to you, Sue.
Well, Dicken, I had 14 A4 pages, which didn't even cover everything I could say. So what I would like to say is thank you, on behalf of, I don't know, thousands of people, for all the work that you've done. I didn't count the years because you're too young to have been able to say that's how long I've been. I mean, you've got this love affair going on, which is inspiring in itself, with your wife, which is wonderful. Beautiful, cozy. And I suppose what I think is, when I think of Dicken, I think of love. And I don't think I'm the only one. And I think of kindness and generosity and steadfastness, and somebody that you can turn to. So for all those reasons and 1,000 more, we are so pleased and grateful that you were able to come this evening with Natasha, and because you two are going to set the world on fire. No pressure.
None taken.
Thanks, Sue. Very kind, very kind.
Thank you, and thanks for inviting us. Yeah, we were together at Dicken's house, and it's always a joy to share anywhere in the world with Dicken. We do a lot of things online. We've also traveled to quite a few places over the years, haven't we? We've been to many places together, and so it's always a joy. And yes, we are writing our second book together, A Life of Ease, the simple truth that will set you free. And what we want with the book is, we really want to reach an audience that is not preaching to the choir, as you were just saying before, Sheila. Most of the people here already know about the principles. But with our new book, we actually want to reach beyond the principles community and try to reach people who are not interested in spirituality, not interested in psychology necessarily. But there's one thing that everyone is looking for. It is a life of ease. We see this over and over in our talks and everything that we do. People are longing for a life of ease. They're longing to feel better. And so when we look at a life of ease, we almost have to see what does it mean not to be at ease? What is it that creates this experience of not being at ease? And that's where the three principles are so powerful in pointing towards what is it that creates all of our experiences. Now, we all grow up with this. Actually, today I was speaking to a gentleman. It was our second session, and he was telling me, like, I don't understand. I'm 39 years old. I've got a beautiful wife and two beautiful kids, and I'm living in this big house, and I have this career that's amazing, and I'm not happy. I'm not motivated. I don't feel purpose in my life. There's nothing that excites me anymore. And he was telling me about his upbringing and, from his parents and society. And I said, well, me too. We grow up being told that happiness is out there. You need to find the good career and find your life purpose and find the right partner and all of these things. And nobody tells us that there's something inside where happiness is already present. Joy is there, inspiration is there. It's already inside. It's not out there. Because he was saying, well, I think I'm having a midlife crisis. And I said, well, good. That's great. Hooray for that. Because what it means is it wakes you up. It's kind of a shock to the system. I've got everything that everyone told me I should get in order to be happy, and I'm just not. And I asked him a question. I said, tell me, when is the last time you remember sort of over time that you were happy? And he said, well, college. I said, well, what was present and what wasn't present? He said, I had time for myself. And you could feel this sigh of longing to just be himself. And so we started talking about what is it that covers up this self that is shining through all of our experiences. What is it that covers that? Which is, of course, all the beliefs that I should get all these things in order to be what I was when I was growing up. I said to him, have you ever seen a baby who was depressed? Have you ever seen an anxious 5-year-old? So it's so interesting how we have it already inside, and then we cover it with beliefs and concepts and careers, and we get into the hamster wheel. And all the time, because feels like we're getting further and further away from home, and we long to just be back. So that's really what we want to speak about, is we all know this feeling of unease. Like I'm tight, I'm tired, I'm in the hamster wheel, and it's going so fast. I don't know how to get out of it, because now I do have a mortgage and I do have a family and how can I possibly be happy when I have all these things? And I pointed something out to him that I want to share with you. I said to him, tell me of a time where you feel like you are just completely yourself, because that was what he was longing for. And he said, well, I love going to the forest and plucking mushrooms. And I said, well, because he kept saying, oh, I'm longing what is my purpose? I need to find my purpose. I said, when you're in the forest, do you miss a purpose? He goes, no. And so we talked about how contentment, that when we feel content, that really is the deepest success that we can have. It's not out there, it's already here. We just cover it up with thoughts, with concepts, with our intellect. I sometimes like to use the metaphor of going down a slope on skis, and where most of us are taught to just go on one ski, like the ski of the intellect. And we get really good at it. Like the track is deep, the leg is strong, but over time it gets tiring. This leg is strong, but it also gets wobbly sometimes. And we kind of have an intuition that there is something here. I don't quite know what it is because I can't see it really. I could sense that there's something here and I long for it. I really long for this. But I'm skiing down the slope and I'm doing my best and I'm really getting tired and exhausted and stressed. And I sense this, but I don't know how to get there. That's a question that both Dicken and I get so often. Well, how do I get there? I know there's something, but how do I get there? Because we can't see it. Because it's not as tangible in a way as the intellect that measures everything. But we sense it, we intuit it, we long for it. And so the three principles is really a way of showing people it's here. And we need both. The intellect's not bad. The intellect's not the enemy here. We need both to go down the hill. We need both of them. But we need to find a way of sensing this even more. So the principles point towards this formless, this divine spiritual essence that we already are. And when we feel it, when we know it, when we sense it, Sydney Banks was always talking about the feeling. When we get into this feeling, then we get the sense of ease. And the more we point people to that which is already here, we already are it, the more we start moving through life with greater ease with our intellect, because we need it. You can't do anything without your intellect. But if it's the only thing you are skiing on, you're gonna get exhausted. So that's really what we're trying to point people towards is there is a way that you can use your intellect wisely while by resting as being the human being that you are.
Makes me want to go skiing. Man, I'm ready. One of my favorite parts of skiing was the lodge. Coming in after a long day of skiing or for lunchtime and having a fire in the fireplace. Oh, man. Isn't it something that those are the moments we tend to remember? The times when we just were relaxed in body and mind. And yet everything in my upbringing led me to strive and try and accomplish something, get somewhere. So pretty soon I was very dissatisfied with where I was because I could always think there's better than where I am right now. So I'd say, well, I know I could feel better, but I don't now, but I could in the future. So even though there's no future, I started creating this imaginary future where I would feel better. So then my next question was, how do I get from here to there? What do I have to do to become happier, to enjoy life more? What do I have to do? Tell me what to do and I'll do it. So I started collecting things that people all over the world were saying that we should do in order to become happier. And every book I read had suggestions for what you needed to do. Every teacher that I had said, this is what you have to do in order to become happy. So I think some of you know my story. I was meditating 4 hours a day. I was waking up 5 times a night to write down my dream in full-length Technicolor so I could work on it the next day. I had affirmation notebooks. My wife said to me one day, I was only sleeping 4 hours a day because the rest of the 20 hours I was in some way working on improving myself. And my wife said, I've never met anybody who works harder on themselves than you. And I took that as the biggest compliment. Even though more and more of the time I was consumed with thinking about myself. More and more of the time not being fully present. Then I had kids. And you get reminded of how you began. I did. The freedom that I saw in my kids when they were little. Reminded me of when I was young. Reminded me when I was free. Reminded me when I was not striving and trying to improve myself. I was only interested in one thing: playing. And it's very interesting. You can't be in your head and playing at the same time. It's really simple. While you're thinking, you can't play. Or if you try to play while you're thinking, you won't enjoy playing. You won't enjoy what you're doing. I watch my little 5-year-old granddaughter now. Kids have, right from even before I met Sid Banks, kids were my teachers because I would observe kids. I had kid envy. Lighthearted, present, playful, alive, curious. And they weren't working on themselves. They weren't trying to figure out the purpose in life. So I watch my little 5-year-old and she runs around. If I could just show you a picture of her face, it's just joy personified, glee, delight, laughing, just having fun. And now that she's 5, there are times when her older brother does things and she'll get really upset. You know how long her huge upsets last? Like it's the end of the world upset? Rarely longer than 5 minutes. And there's one reason alone. She is more interested in becoming present so she can start playing again than she is thinking about herself and her life. And to me, it's very curious. When I observe adults, when they get upset, they do the exact opposite of what we used to do when we were 5. They do more thinking. I don't care what they're thinking about. You can't be happy while you're thinking. You can't feel peaceful while you're thinking. It's impossible. Try it. Be with someone you love and keep thinking about something and wait how long before they say something to you about, hello, are you here? Try and convince someone you love them if you're thinking all the time. Because you can't experience love while you're thinking. When I was young, I spent all of my free time outdoors playing. And my best friend and I loved going into the woods, and we would climb trees and we would make forts and we would run as fast as we could through the woods, and we would have mock sword battles and climb the highest tree. When I was young, I prided myself that I could swing a tree back and forth and then leap over and grab another tree next to it. go from top of trees. That kind of enjoyment of playing as I got older went into sports, and I did sports all year round. And school more and more became a matter of being serious, trying hard, working hard to memorize things so you could do well on tests. My heart wasn't in learning. I stopped being curious about learning things because I was holding desperately on to, but gradually I became more and more serious. And I thought, well, that's what it takes to be an adult. And then when I got serious enough and anxious enough, I started looking into self-improvement. And every book in the bookstore basically was about self-improvement, what you can do to be better than you are. So it's based on a fundamental assumption. You don't have what you need right now. You have to work hard to develop it. Isn't that interesting? It was all about self-improvement. So I can remember when I first met Sydney Banks. Who basically said trying is thinking that creates stress. There's nothing you need to improve, Dicken. You're connected to the universe. And the vast majority of the universe is formless, pure energy. And in his enlightenment experience, he realized that pure energy is infinite, it's formless, it's full of intelligence, it's conscious, and it's infinitely creative, full of creative potential. And he said, Dicken, you're part of that in the same way a wave is part of the ocean. So in your depths, you're wise, you're fully conscious, and you're full of creative potential. Always. And you can't develop it. It's fully developed. It's what's living you. There's nowhere to go to get it. And while you're thinking, you can't experience the benefits of that intelligence, that conscious state, that power to create thought and experience. So Sid said a couple of things to me that changed my life. One was, Dicken, you have perfect well-being inside already. You don't have to do anything to achieve it. No work required. It's the being part of human. Every human being has perfect well-being inside, and it doesn't matter if they're in a president of a company or in a mental institution. Every single person is connected to this field of energy that we're a part of. No exception. Every one of you, no exception, is wise, has as much access to wisdom as any other person on this planet, whether you know it or not. I didn't understand intellectually what he was saying, but it touched something in my heart. And I just started weeping. I had been a psychologist 10 years, and I was helping my clients work to develop their well-being. So I was passing on my work ethic to my clients. Yes. I wanted them to meditate. I wanted them to work on their dreams. I wanted them to keep affirmation notebooks. I wanted them to do journals. I encouraged them. I said, these are things that people all over the world recommend to improve your well-being. And Sid Banks was the first person I met, said there's no improvement involved. You already have it. And if I could walk around with any one of you, I could show you times during the day where you drop out of your thinking and your well-being right away comes to the fore. No exceptions. Working with a person who is clinically depressed, within 10 minutes in the session, we're laughing together. And I said to her, right now you're not depressed. And she goes, yes, I am. Because she hadn't learned the second thing that's important for people to learn. See, I want everybody to learn you're connected to the beautiful dimensions of what our universe provides. It's wise enough to create everything that exists. So when our minds are quiet, it creates beautiful things in us, through us. It wouldn't be called wisdom if it didn't do that. Sid says, if you can take one little step beyond your precious thought system, just for 1 second, you'll touch the most beautiful quiet space within. And if you touch that space, this was one of the last things he said before he died. If any one of you touch that space just for a second, something beautiful must come into you. So isn't it ironic that most of us, when we feel stress or upset or tense, we do more thinking? We try to figure out what to do, how to deal with it, what it means, what to say, innocently. Because we haven't learned yet that beyond our intellect, there's this quiet intelligence that is just waiting to bring us exactly what you need in that moment to deal with any kind of situation you're dealing with. It'll bring you new thinking. It'll bring you feelings that uplift. It'll bring you new perspectives. It'll bring you words that are helpful. It'll bring you whatever would be helpful for you in that moment. But we have to be open and receptive in order to receive that signal. In the same way, a radio, if it's not tuned in right, it won't pick up the radio waves that are already in the air. You'll just get static. So while we're thinking about our problems, we get a lot of static. Oh, I don't know what to do. Should I do this? Oh, I don't know. Why did they have to do that? What am I going to do? And we get tuned in right. So Sid would say, any one of us, when we get tuned in to the principles, live in harmony with the universe. And the universal intelligence will guide you perfectly in that moment. And your feelings will enliven, lighten up. You become more lighthearted. You'll begin to feel more closely connected to what's around you. Why? Because that's our truth. We already are connected to everything. We're all part of this massive spiritual field of life energy. When our head's clear, we move out of thoughts that create separation. We feel connected. It's what allows me to fall in love with my wife over and over again, is that when I get quiet, I feel better. It's really simple. When our minds quiet down, we feel better. We're built to feel good. And when we feel better, we feel closer to people. If you're in your head, you can feel all kind of distance and separation from people. You fall out of your thinking, you feel closer to people. Feel connected, you feel alive. Fall out of your thinking into your heart, fall in love. It's just like we fall asleep, we let go of our thinking, and we go into a very restful, relaxed, quiet place, and then we go beyond that into sleep. Falling awake is you fall out of your thinking into that quiet, restful place, but you don't keep going into sleep. You're fully awake and alert. That's how they describe a meditative state of mind. Completely at rest, but alert, awake, alive, conscious, present. And then I started having insight after insight that when I was playing as a kid, the only thing that happened was I got out of my head and into my heart and filled up with good feeling and enjoyed the moment, and my senses came alive. And I enjoyed the moment, and I felt a deep intimacy with trees, with people. And I no longer was blaming that on the woods. I have to go to the woods in order to feel good. It's like, oh, I go to the woods as the one place I give myself permission to quiet down. Doesn't mean you throw away your intellect. It means that when you're able to find a balance between thinking about things, and as soon as you feel tension, it's your invitation to fall into this deeper space. The instant you feel tension. So as soon as life doesn't seem easy, it's a gift. It's spirit letting you know you're holding on to thoughts. And if you let go of everything you're thinking at that moment, you don't become dumb, you become wise. You don't become passive, you become enlivened with life. You fill up with feelings of aliveness, peace, joy, love, connection, compassion. You begin to appreciate two things: how easy it is for any one of us at any moment, no matter who we are, to get caught up in our thinking and get lost because we no longer have that connection to deeper well-being and wisdom temporarily. How easily we can get caught up. And no matter how easily we get caught up, we have the capacity to wake up to the fact we're caught up, to let go of what we're thinking, to fall open and receptive, and be uplifted, inspired, motivated, enlivened, renewed, made new again. Be ye renewed in spirit. So Natasha and I could tell you stories all day long of people we've worked with who were not at ease. Not at ease is dis-ease. But there's a cure because there's only one dis-ease. There's only one psychological, this is what I learned from Sydney Banks, there's only one psychological problem for any human being ever. We get caught up in thought, think it's true, and then start acting on that as if it's true. There's one cure. You wake up to your true nature. You find out that when you're a thought away from surrendering into this moment as it is. No matter what you're feeling or thinking, it doesn't matter. You have two people who are really upset. One is doing more thinking and the other is falling into the present moment. How far away is the present moment for anybody ever? And it's only in the present moment we can experience well-being. We're a thought away in every moment from what we're looking for. So one problem, one cure. That, more than anything, learning, I've only learned two things. I live in the experience of my thinking. And when I'm not holding thought and fall open, I begin to reconnect with this deeper dimension, this loving, alive, wise, passionate energy that knows how to create and operate life. I get into harmony with that. So I've had presidents of companies who have 10 times more responsibility in life than I do, and they're living with greater ease because they've found the value of being present and listening deeply and staying close to this inner guidance, who can think, use their beautiful intellects wisely and think about anything until it starts creating tension, stress, or upset. Then they close their laptop, close it, become present. So there's hope for everybody. You can become more awake and aware of the fact that you think, and you can become more aware and awake to the fact that you're connected to a deeper intelligence that knows how to guide you perfectly, that enables all of us to have perfect well-being. And as Natasha said, we just innocently cover it up when we get caught up in our thinking, the number one problem. So as it says, we learn how to get the best of both worlds. We learn how to get the best of our intellect and the best of wisdom so that they work together in harmony. Then you get a human being who's not afraid to have any feeling. So well-being is characterized when thoughts come in that create sadness, tension, stress, upset. With understanding, you just let those thoughts flow through you. So you're living in the flow. That's one characteristic of ease that I wanted to talk about is flow. And the other character is that if you're not holding on to those thoughts, you'll be like my little 5-year-old granddaughter, and within 5 minutes of your greatest upset, you'll be over it. It's called being resilient. And it's built into every human being to be resilient. And if you're resilient, you're a healthy, happy human being. That's being resilient is one of the primary characteristics of what well-being looks like. Ease is resilience. You feel stress, you get over it because you don't hold that thinking in mind. You get angry, you get over it quickly because you know it's just thought. If you hold on to any of those thoughts, you suffer. Holding negative thought is suffering. That's plain and simple. If you don't hold it, there's flow, there's resilience. You learn how to go through any experience gracefully, with ease. You learn how to do your downs well. As a friend of mine says, you do downs well. Okay. That's what comes to mind this morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think we should go to open up for questions. I just wanted to say one thing, which is that A life of ease doesn't mean that we're happy all the time. A life of ease doesn't mean that we are in difficult circumstances. A life of ease doesn't mean that we don't go up and down. We do all the time. What a life of ease means is we have understanding about what it is that creates our experience. And we know how to get back home. We know how to find that track that's forgotten sometimes, like the missing link that Sydney Banks was speaking about. We know how to get back. So when Dicken and I get caught up, and we do that all the time, it's not that we don't get caught up, it's that we know how to get back. And that is what makes it a life of ease. That's what makes it a life in harmony with creation itself, using both intellect and wisdom. So why don't we open up and hear from you guys? Any questions or insights or reflections, anything? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, if you could use the React panel and put your hand up, and then we can have you speak to Dicken and Natasha.
Can you help us how to do that? Because I don't know where it is.
Yeah, go for it. Patrick, just speak. Nobody else has put their hand up yet, as far as I can tell. So go ahead.
Thank you. I was looking for that. I couldn't find it. Thank you, both of you, for what you shared today. It's interesting, as you know, I've listened to people speak of, including Sid, you know, for decades, and every time it's a different conversation, guy, you know, pointing the same direction, right? I always like that part.
Yes, yes.
I have spent some time recently. I have this incredible opportunity to bring a spiritual meeting into the West Garza prison in Beesville, Texas. A friend and I go every month, and was there this week. And part of what really touched me was how loving and vulnerable they are in our meeting, and how many of them feel free,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and most of them, it's, I got intoxicated, I did something stupid, and now I'm in this white jumpsuit, right? And so many of it, you know, initiates with addiction and so forth, which I see differently now too, than I did maybe 35 years ago for myself. But part of what you were saying really interested me, because when I was in my addiction, I wanted to go somewhere else. Wherever I was, oh, if I do this drug, if I do this alcohol, if I do this, this will send me somewhere else, because I was uncomfortable in my own skin, right? And I didn't know that at the time, but I see it a little more clearly now with a little bit of distance. But what I love about the inmates is their, I told them yet on Monday, all I see in the room is hope. All I see is you guys are already healthy. You know, you may not know it or feel it, but I, you know, like anyone, all I do is point in a direction. But I just wanted to share how our circumstances don't define how we feel and whether we feel free or not. So thanks a lot for both of you. Great to see you as always, Dicken, and
Pat,
big
oh my
love to you,
God.
Koisi.
Oh
and the
my
family.
God, so good to see you. And this is a great point. We often hear from men and women in prison that they feel freer once they discover psychological freedom. They feel freer than they ever have in their life. It doesn't have to do with circumstances. So that's a beautiful point, Pat. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you.
Chrissy, love to hear from you.
Hi there, Natasha and Dicken. Thank you so much for tonight. Very good to see you again, Natasha. Yeah, I mean, what I was that was just so clear. I loved what you both said tonight. That's for it's nighttime in the UK, and it's just so great to have it in different words, to have that clarity and the simplicity. I'm still, the mind wants to complicate and make it more difficult
Yes.
than it
Yeah.
actually is, and it goes again and again. And I mean, what's been going on for me, the insights is really just about being is wonderful, and that, full stop. There's so much other chatter I've had since I retired, for instance. There's so many shoulds of what it should look like, and I am so enjoying being and getting that's all there is.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, but I'm supposed to be sharing this understanding, and I should be out there being this wonderful, wonderful coach with people because I really love this understanding. And it's like, well, actually, what's going on for me right now is being. And it's just wonderful. It's feeling the nudges of the nudges of wisdom that sometimes I do share about this with people when it feels right, and that works great. But I had this idea I was going to be on a stage talking about this. I was going to be one of those people.
Yeah.
And that's not who I am. And it's like, oh, great. I'm a nana to a 3-year-old. God, that's wonderful. I'm wife. I'm a lover of being.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's just great. I just wanted to share with you. Thank you for listening.
Oh, thanks, Chrissy. And thank you for saying the first thing you said about it's so clear and simple. It's really helped Dicken and I to write this book to an audience outside of the Three Principles community. It's really been helpful to us because we've had to get very clear, make it very simple in order for more people to be able to understand it, so it doesn't become this spiritual lingo that we sometimes fall into. And the second thing I'm hearing in what you're saying, Chrissy, is you're listening to wisdom, not to the concepts about what you thought you ought to be doing. You've come to a place where you're really just listening inside and following that guidance that's saying, no, you don't have to be on any stage. You don't have to be a coach. And what I love about that is that there's this quiet in that. There's this beauty in that. And it reminds me of something that I've heard Dicken say that Sydney Banks said, which was, you can do as much for the world in sitting at home in your garden having a cup of tea as going around on stages in the world, something like that. And now I feel called to go out on stages in the world, and so does Dicken. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are present, if you are feeling the joy in life itself. That's all that we need to do. And now we have different callings, but I love that you're following yours. I think
Thanks, Natasha. Can I just ask, when is the book going to be available?
No, you can't.
Oh. Well, I have. I'm asking you.
Well,
The one thing Natasha and I have never done is operated on a schedule.
Great.
We work on it when we're inspired. We throw away anything that doesn't feel inspired.
Right.
We've started over on this book. We've rewritten this book so many times, haven't we, Natasha? Is because we keep hearing it deeper and simpler. I mean, ultimately, Sid would say, listen, the only thing I've ever told people, ever, look within. Beyond your thinking, there's a quiet. In that quiet, there's a beautiful feeling. And in that feeling is all the knowing you need to guide you through life. He said, what could be simpler? That's all I've ever said to anybody. That's my whole message. That's the heart of spiritual teaching. It's connecting the spiritual with the psychological. It pulls it all together. What could be simpler? What could be simpler? Look within. Beyond your thinking, there's a quiet. In that quiet, there's a beautiful feeling. You don't have to label it. You don't even have to know what it is. You just feel it and enter into it. Enter into that quiet feeling. Go deeper and deeper into that quiet feeling. And without even thinking, you'll be guided. You'll know when to stand up, when to sit down, when to say something, when not to say something. You'll be perfectly taken care of, perfectly guided. He says, it's so simple. It's not complicated. If you think about it, it will become complicated because concepts complicate. But to experience it is simple.
Well, thanks, Chrissy. And we've got 5 minutes left, so let's hear from Uwe.
Yes, hello. My name is Uwe from Denmark. I'm quite new in this 3P, but I just want to share a little things with you. It's so nice to be here. I started like my 3P process last summer, and I just tried to be in the conversation, like joining a meeting like this. And then I have just been a 3P host for a meeting, physical meeting in Denmark where I live, and we were 12 people, and I so much enjoyed just to listen to all the other people's wisdom and experience. And I was actually also in a prison today. The gentleman before mentioned that, and I am working with a global project called Denmark in the World, because Denmark has the EU presidency and Denmark is a member of this UN Security Council. So I'm just trying to do a research. What if, you have to make these big global decisions, for example, in UN Security Council about conflicts in the world? What if you did that, according to the 3 principles? And I know it's a long process, and it's not that they just do it, but I just say it, I mention it every time I'm in a meeting, because I think the world could be so much better if the high level decisions were based on 3Ps. That was just my words. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing, Uffe. It sure is wonderful that you are present in different places, bringing this to people's attention, that there is another way than the way that a lot of the world is moving right now. Now, I wanted to just again thank you, Dicken, for sharing this with me again. Thank you, Sue and Sheila, for inviting us. It's such a joy. And we love what you're doing with Viva. It's such a wonderful opportunity for people to come together and share this understanding.
Oh, I was just going to say the same thing. Sue and Sheila, you're pioneers in your own right, and you've done wonders in bringing the playful dimension of well-being into the principles as a way of people very quickly picking up on the spirit and feeling of the principles, so that it's become I almost think of Viva as like a lighthouse, and this light is just coming out now from years of that event, and people are becoming little mini lighthouses going out into the world, sharing that light and love of life. So thank you for all you've been doing in that regard.
Thank you. That's really kind. We, I think when we set off, we had a playground in mind. I think that was Sheila brought that to the table. Let's just think about what it would be like to be in the playground and get sort of capture that feeling. And it's as you started to say, you know, when you're playing, there's just joy and presence.
Yeah.
That's really kind of you, Dicken. Means a lot.
Thank you both of you for being with us. Would you like to share with everyone? I know we don't know when the book's coming out, but I bet you know that what you're going to be doing in the next few months. Maybe you'd like to share something, each of you, of what you've got coming up, so people know where they can hear more, see more of you.
Well, I want to highlight that this weekend, the 3PGC is doing a free conference, which is an introduction to the three principles. We're doing it and it's being translated into Russian and Ukrainian because we want to share this with that specific community. But we will all the speakers will be speaking English. And so Dicken and I and several of our colleagues on the 3PGC board will be there. We're also both going to be speaking at the conference in London, the UK conference this year. What else are we up to, Dicken? We're doing
We're going to Ireland, which is going to be a hoot. We're going to do the weekend after
the conference.
The conference.
Yeah, we'll be in Ireland doing a 2-day retreat, and in July. And no, the last weekend of June, and then we're both going to be in Norway for 3 days in September.
In September, yeah.
A 3-day retreat in September. And I'm also doing a 3-day retreat in May with Marina Galan, if anyone knows of her. So that's some of what we're up to.
Beautiful.
Dicken's
got his calendar out.
I wanted to look for the date. One thing, March 13th, my daughter and I are going to do our first ever father-daughter free webinar. My daughter is, she was so immersed in the principles as she was growing up. She was 13 when I started learning the principles, and by the time she left home, she had an astounding level of understanding, and she's done many different things in her life, including teaching the principles to autistic kids and their families, and working with families at risk. But she's also done work in a lot of other fields. And now she is a point in her life where her kids are grown up, and she's restarting her three principles business as a mentor, and has her own website. And so Nina and I are going to do a talk together, and we're calling it Living Life All In. And we have a lot of stories to share. So hopefully you can join that. And I put information on that on Facebook. If you went to my page, you'd find it. So.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Father and daughter, yeah.
I know it's gonna be a hoot. She truly has been one of my best teachers. There was a point I'd come home from work and she'd say, "Dad, what insights have you had now?" And we'd talk about it. And then it reached the point where she'd be coming home from school and I'd be saying, "Nina, what insights have you had?" And she was channeling wisdom and became my teacher. And so for us to be able to do this together at this point, she was 13 when she started learning this. She's 50 years old now. So it's been quite a journey for her, and she has a lot to share. The 13th of, did I say?
13th of March, I think I heard you
The
say.
13th of
Yeah.
March.
And we can find that on your Facebook page. Brilliant.
Yeah, and it's for free, and the link is on the post.
Wow.
Well, thank you once again. Thank you everybody for being here with us in our breakout session, our first one for the year. Thank you again, Natasha. Thank you, Dicken, for being with us for our.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
And we look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. Someplace, somewhere. There's plenty of places to choose from, online and offline. So take care, everybody, and we wish you all a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.
Wherever you are. Thank you very much. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
love to everybody.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.